Good morning, YouTube. Tire Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Still some things actually left to set up on this computer as I'm making this video, so we're working on that in my spare time. I actually had to go to work this morning, as you all know. But nonetheless, though, it's here, it's up and running, and it's only going to get better from here. So hopefully you're as excited as I am if you've been watching for a minute. I think we'll actually start to really get some good things going here on this channel. We seem to be heading in the right direction. Anyways, make sure you guys are hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button as well, and also smashing that share button too, because we're doing a weekly forecast here, so try to give you a little leg up on the week. So start out with severe weather, 2 slight risk in the next couple of days, and a marginal risk on Wednesday right now. So far, I haven't seen anything super crazy with tornado potential as of right now, but things could change. Not going to look at any soundings today. We're short on time, and then also I haven't really found anything super crazy at the moment. But with today's threat, like I said, no real tor risk at the moment. I don't expect there to be anything. Might see an increased damaging wind threat, maybe even a 15% hatched risk, because this area over here towards the northern high plains may end up seeing an MCS with a little bit of a boat out segment, which means damaging wind potential. And then also over here, could see a nice little line of storms, maybe even some weak supercells over here towards the Ohio Valley. Some cities like Louisville, Cincinnati, Bowling Green, Nashville, and others. We've got to keep an eye on the severe weather threat today. But yeah, wind and hail is the main threat for today. Tomorrow, it's a pretty similar deal. It's a much smaller area, but interestingly enough, the trough kind of sits in an interesting spot. So I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow we see a 2% tornado threat here as well. As far as day 3 is concerned, we're only looking at a marginal risk, but the streak has been slight risk, like I've said in other videos before. Would not be surprised to see this be upgraded to a slight risk by tomorrow, or even by late tonight even. But that being said here, I'm thinking the main threat with this will still be wind and hail. We won't know for sure yet because, well, we're at the 72-hour point. It's only at 48 hours where we can actually look at the hazard types from the SPC. But we can also look at models and get an idea of what's going on here. It's the latest GFS coming in right now. So here's that trough that I'm talking about here. Here's that upper level low, and this is actually also going to bring smoke from the Canadian wildfires back into play for a lot of us in the country, as it already has, actually, to be honest. But as a whole here, the trough isn't really super duper stout here. You could see a few storms pop up in this region here, but really the setup tomorrow is slightly more impressive. Hopefully you guys aren't hearing too much of my keyboard clacking here. It's a new keyboard, everything's new, so I'm trying to adjust to it. But anyway, it's over towards this region where my attention's kind of been peaked a little bit, or my interest is peaked a little bit, simply due to the direction of these wind barbs, this little southeasterly motion. We know that the Gulf of Mexico has been pretty much remaining just uninhibited. No high pressure has really blocked anything off or shut off the Gulf of Mexico moisture flow. So any moisture flow that would be heading in a north to northwesterly direction here could result in a little bit of wind shear. It's questionable as to how strong it would be. I wouldn't expect much, but nonetheless, though, it's interesting to see how that's playing out here. So as we continue to go forward, our trough begins to become more zonal and level out a little bit. And while the severe threat will continue to exist, the potential will decrease just a little bit, at least up until Friday, where we get this jet streak coming in. The timing of this jet streak or wind maximum here is going to be a very key component as to what we see next. Then this deepens into a trough as we head towards Saturday, and as a result, we have to be on the lookout for maybe some more severe weather on the weekend. Also, I'm noticing a trend here where we continue to see a point of interest existing across the mid-Atlantic and Northeast here. So there could be more. It looks like there's going to be more rain on the way for you guys. So let's make sure we're staying weather aware, especially when it comes to flooding. Flooding is actually Mother Nature's #1 killer. So let's make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to here. But as far as the week's concerned, I'm really more concerned about the weekend after Tuesday, more so than anything else as of right now. Of course, as we all know, things do ramp up over the course of a day, so we're going to be continuing to post updates on here just about daily at this point. But this is what we're looking like right now from the 200 millibar perspective. This is the high level jet. This is usually where we end up seeing our storm direction, or our I can't get the words out, but it's usually how we end up getting a good idea of where our storm track is going to be. Can't believe I couldn't get that word out here. But here's an interesting component for tomorrow's setup. This little strong low to mid upper to mid-level trough here existing. As it moves forward here, it's going to push a little bit more wind energy a little further to the south here. And this is what's going to give this area this little boost that I think it would need for severe weather, maybe even tornado genesis. Oops, I clicked the sounding. Didn't mean to do that. But nonetheless here, definitely something to keep an eye on for Tuesday. Like I said, it's a lot of fail parameters with that, but if something were to get going, it could be pretty interesting, maybe even significant. As far as Wednesday is concerned, I would actually lean more towards a setup towards the Midwest, maybe even a little further to the north here, maybe including Wisconsin too. And then as time goes on, I would expect things to be a little bit calmer heading into Thursday. Friday looks a little bit more interesting, and then as we get into Saturday, of course, that trough starts to deepen. And then maybe back towards the Midwest and the plain states, we could see some severe weather as well. So that's what the wind pattern is looking like right now at the moment. Like I said, this tends to change pretty often. Let's go ahead and look at today's severe weather threat. Also, in case you're wondering what the values are, since I have a screen that's big enough, I can actually show you now. So the higher the values, the brighter the colors. Usually whenever you're looking at this latitude here, if you see yellow, that's not a good sign. Fortunately, we don't really see too much of that. As we go forward here, really there's no area of yellow that pops up at all. At best, we get maybe to about 50 knots as far as low-level jet's concerned. So like I said, not too concerned about severe weather potential, but definitely can't be overlooked. Over towards this area here, there's always chances of severe weather with how hot and humid it is and how unstable it can be towards Texas, Oklahoma. But again, tornado threat, keep it on the, I would say it's on the minimal side once more. But as far as also the instability is concerned, that's where things are a little bit different. Things get a little bit more interesting. One thing about this event that could be possible here today across parts of South Dakota, Montana, etc., is the fact that there's decent instability here, but it's nothing that's like insane. I actually am going to click a sounding here, and as you can see, really another variable here is the cap here. It's a pretty notable cap, but if it does break, which there is actually a good chance that it will, there's a pretty good potential for damaging winds and hail here. Lapse rates, downward cape, EHI numbers are pretty impressive here, and even the storm relative felicities are pretty strong too. So again, like I said, if storms could get going here, we could be running into some trouble. But like I said, I think the cap really is going to inhibit a lot of that. Like I said, it's not really a weak cap at all. I'm going to eventually do another video and basically redo all of the videos I did on Weather Nerd 101, so that way I could give you a little bit better perspective on how this all works. But also, I'm going to take a look over here towards the Ohio Valley here. Decent amount of instability here, especially between the Kentucky Indiana line here. Going to do one more sounding as well. Interestingly enough, it's a Tor sounding, but like I said, low level jet. The surface winds are not very impressive, so I wouldn't really read into the hazard type with this too much. Not to say that it can't happen, but it's nothing that I'm impressed with at the moment. Like I said, damaging wind potential seems a little bit higher with this, with the D cape at 813. And then lapse rates are decent. They're nothing incredible, but we could also see some decent hail with this too. But that's pretty much all I'm really seeing with today's setup. I'm not going to really read into tomorrow's setup. If something crazy happens, I may go over it again tonight. But lastly, we're going to go ahead and take a quick look at composite reflectivity. Storms are not really going to get going until late. But here's that first round of storms over here towards the Ohio Valley. Very isolated pockets of thunderstorms, some of which will be severe. Of course, there are some interesting little hot pockets there. If they do get into that, we could see some more significant weather. Likelihood isn't super high with that. And here's our MCS segment right here developing. Doesn't really look that impressive on composite reflectivity, but of course, as the day goes on, we often do see changes in the models here, a lot of different trends developing. So have to take that with a grain of salt, but I think as we get later and later into the evening, this might strengthen a bit, probably more so towards the overnight hours from the looks of it. Also, another thing, like I said before, that I made mention of, we got to watch out for the smoke from the Canadian wildfires, which is up here actually. This is where the highest density of smoke is right now. But watch what happens as I move this forward. This spreads out, and here's another Canadian wildfire a little bit further north here. I can't really take a look at it from the perspective of this model. But as time goes on, we have to look out towards the eastern end of the Great Lakes here as the smoke density really picks up in this region. And then also we have to see the southeast. We have to watch the southeast as it's going to be a hazy next couple of days. It looks like as well. And then here's the smoke from the next fire coming in along with this next trough. So this is going to bring smoke into Montana. We also have wildfires beginning to really emerge here towards Northern California and parts of Oregon. So unfortunately, it looks like we're going to start to see some widespread smoke starting to make it out of the Sierras and into more of the valleys here too. So make sure that if you can help it, try to avoid being outside for extended periods of time. Lastly, we're going to go ahead and take a look at a couple other things here. For everybody else, temperature is going to be a big story, of course. We already know this. I'm going to just set this into a loop here. I'm going to set it at a decent loop. I'm not going to try to make it to where you guys can't see. But simply put, it's summertime. We already know the deal here. Nothing surprising. But towards the southwest seems to be like the hottest point, which is normal. Then also towards Texas. But what's most notable is how far to the north these 90s get. The fact that we're seeing them in even North and South Dakota at times is pretty wild. See, look at that. Even a couple of triple digits make their way into Montana here. So pretty crazy stuff there. Of course, the further out into this forecast that we look, the less certainty we have, less confidence we have. So maybe this may not happen. Let's hope it doesn't, because, man, that's going to be brutal. In fact, looking at my area, I see a couple of 97s in there. So definitely don't want to be outside working in that if I can help it. But let's go ahead and next take a look at where we could see the highest likelihood of thunderstorms. We already know who could be seeing severe weather here, but also garden variety thunderstorms are important to keep track of too, because they can be very disruptive to any outdoor plans. So that being said, here is over the next couple of days, here's where our storm potential is greater. We do see a little bit more chance of increasing activity here towards southern Arizona. This is their monsoon season, so maybe there could be a chance here, but it's like literally forming a ring right outside of Phoenix here. So Phoenix and Flagstaff here. So we'll see what happens, but it seems like the chances of rain towards the southwest may increase as well. Hopefully these don't end up being dry thunderstorms. So this is looking at Tuesday. Pretty similar deal. Severe weather threat is going to be where the highest lightning flash density is. Florida is getting into the action, of course. The Carolinas, Mid-Atlantic getting in there too. And some of the mountains, or some of the Rocky Mountains over here getting into the action too. Then we watch the storm potential increase towards the southeast towards the middle of the week. And then by the end of it, we're seeing increase in precipitation possibility, more so towards the southern plains once again. So, like I said, pattern's plenty active. Not going to be changing anytime soon here. So let's just make sure we're staying weather aware and being ready for changing conditions, regardless of whether you have severe weather or not, because you don't want to be caught outside during a lightning storm. It's not fun. I can tell you that from experience. But anyway, go ahead and take a look at the forecast here as a whole. And what we'll notice is, like I said, pretty active pattern here. A lot of our troughs are going to be built in more from the north here. The subtropical jet has really been kind of fixed more so towards the northern end of the states, but there hasn't been really too many blocking highs or any super strong blocking highs that are going to inhibit any sort of storm development, especially towards the eastern half of the country. Towards the west more, I've noticed a little bit stronger blocking highs, but even this too doesn't really inhibit any sort of thunderstorm development too much. It's really more so due to other factors here, but this is what we're looking like this week, and hopefully if you are looking at your area, you like what you see. But anyways, this has been Tire Metalhead Weatherman. I gotta get out of here and get ready for work. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do from that point. Till then, take care, and I'll see you soon.